mom because she gives the best hugs.
Because she's cool.
I love my mom because she's always generous and nice to me.
Because every time I fall on my bike, she just helps me.
Because she keeps me alive. She's very nice to me. Because on Friday she lets me watch movies. Because she's nice to me and she's the best. Because she gives me snuggles.
Because she's so loving and caring and providing. She likes playing with us, and that she's always honest with us.
Because whenever I'm sad, she always gives me a big hug.
It's because she makes the best beans and rice.
I love how caring and kind and sacrificial she is for all of us. There's 4 of us in the house, and she does make sure that each of us have time with her.
I guess I'd have to say, like, what I really love about my mom is just, like, she's so caring and just, like, patient with, like, me and my siblings.
I like when my mom gives me kisses.
Cooking.
She plays games with me. I like it when my mom scratches my back. I like when she hugs me so tight when I'm sad. She always tucks me in at night, and sometimes she even makes my bed. And she always tucks me into bed with my baby.
She's very real. We have very real conversations. She doesn't shy away from telling me the truth.
I would want to tell her that I really love her so much, and I couldn't do anything without her.
I would want to tell my mom that there's no one like her and she's the best one.
That I love her a lot.
I love her because Jesus made her.
I love you. That she's the best. I love you. I love her so much.
How much I love her.
I love you and I miss you.
Hi, Mom, I'm on the big screen. I love you.
In my childhood, I wasn't really mothered. Fast forward, when I was 17, I had become a believer, and I was someone who was very self-reliant, and honestly, it took the love of mothers who came in and who nurtured me, they really nurtured me spiritually, but it came through very practical means.
When we moved to the United States, to a different country, it was just a whole different place for my parents and I. So it's just a constant trusting between us and patience that I know that I can go with her in moments that are just very difficult times.
There were a number of women who have been, in some capacity or another, like a spiritual mother to me. I think how that's looked over the years, the last couple decades, has been being recognized and seen, being remembered, being prayed for, being provided for in different ways. But it's also looked like spiritual mothers who have been willing to go into my past with me. They were stepping into my brokenness, and it was uncomfortable. I mean, they saw ugly sides of me.
I know I have made quite a few mistakes, but her love and patience has just helped me grow in just trusting.
I think that just the comfort that my mom brings and like the intentional comments and just acts of service that my mom will do for me and for my family and her friends just really brings me back to God and just the Father that He is and how much He really sees and wants to do the little things for us.
I wouldn't have said that I needed to be mothered, but God knew I needed to be mothered, and the women around me in our church knew I needed to be mothered. And He brought me to His family for that purpose, that He could bring healing, He could bring love into my life, He could shape me for future generations, really, for my own kids and for the impact of my life in the lives of other children and other peer mothers and however that looks.
Me seeing how my mom has loved others, it just has had a shape on how I love my friends and my community. Listening, being patient.
My mom's a really good listener. She's always there. She makes me feel really safe, and just like I can say anything, it's a no judgment space.
I think the way that being mothered has impacted my relationship with God has been in that I feel more freedom to approach God because I know that He really, really loves me, knowing that He had mercy for me, knowing that He had grace for me, knowing that there wasn't anything too scary from my past or too big for me to ask or too ugly for Him to want to take in. There wasn't anything too broken that He wasn't willing to fix. And so I felt a courage, and I still do, to approach God more freely.
I do remember this season in our family where my brother needed a surgery about his heart, and my mom we were just gathering. My mom was just telling us to trust in God. She's a woman of prayer, and she will pray a lot for all the things that will happen in our family, in our household. And just seeing her faith, seeing how she will just take us and start praying has just had a big impact on my relationship with God.
When I wasn't as strong in my relationship with God, just the truths that she offered have stuck with me. Even when I didn't want to receive it, to this day, the things that she said has always stuck with me and shaped who I am. And just her bringing up over the years how she's seen me grow in that area and giving me wisdom on how to keep hearing from God has been so helpful.
I love my mom. She has called me out in moments that I have not liked it. And I just really appreciate that now. My life will be very different if my mom has not been how she has been. I will not be the man who I am today because of my mom, because I know that she loves me.
Honestly, if I wasn't mothered, I had enough brokenness in my life that I don't know that I'd be alive. Because when you go through depths of brokenness and lies root down so deeply, it's really hard to know hope. But beyond that, I was afraid of marriage. I was afraid of having children. I mean, I wouldn't be married if I didn't have their love, honestly. I wouldn't have children that I have. It was incredibly life-changing for me to have women who were willing to come in and redefine that experience for me.
I think if I had to say something to my mom, I would say that I just appreciate everything that she does, the little things that she thinks just goes unseen. But everything I appreciate so much, and I just admire everything about you.
Mamita, I love you. I appreciate you, and thank you for being the mother that you have been throughout my life.
There's just a depth of thankfulness and also sadness in it all. I mean, how do you talk about motherhood without feeling all of that? Even though I'm crying, that's really a joyful thing.
I love you, Mom.
What would be missing without mothers? I don't know if there's any traits or anything that I would specifically attribute, but I do think it is that it's only half. You have to have the mother and the father, whether that comes together in a biological way or a non-biological way. God was meant to be represented by both. And so, you're missing half if you only have one.
Yeah, which is why it's so great to have a spiritual family, because that's not always the case in biological families. So that's a call for us to really take that seriously.
Yeah. So I have the pleasure of parenting, mothering biological kids and foster kids. And what has brought me joy, I have this picture, I have a folder on my phone that is like a gratitude folder. But this picture, I have a picture, it's like the dog pile, you know, like Elijah, Waverly, Judah, my foster son, and they're all piled up and they're all laughing. And that seems like really, really simple, except for what my foster son had to overcome just to get that close to my husband.
Yeah.
So that moment of pride, like, man, he really overcame. Like, there's something really beautiful happening here. And then also that joy of like my biological children embracing and accepting other children. Like, it's not a foster brother, it's their brother. And I mean, that's just incredible. And yeah, that I couldn't be more proud. I don't think there's anything else that would make me more proud.
Yeah. I think there's, for me, I'm thinking more about my adult kids. I still am their mother. And also translating it to spiritual motherhood, because it's very similar. When I see my kids taking care of each other, like one of them will say, hey, I'll pay for my brother to come visit, or hey, I know this is really hard, I'm gonna go over to their house and, you know, just be with them and watch a movie. Like, it's no longer just us as parents or me mothering. I'm watching my kids love each other. And I've had a very similar feeling, like just recently in the church, like where I saw a person that I would see as a spiritual daughter walk up and just initiate a conversation. And I knew it wasn't an easy thing for her to do, but she initiated a conversation with somebody. She prayed for that person. And just watching her stretch to bless somebody else, it's like, I want all the kids in the family to be taking care of each other, because there's something that really, it just brings a joy to my heart when I watch my kids, but it also brings a joy to my heart, like when I watch the kids in this house.
Yeah.
I just feel like when it comes to mothering, it doesn't have to be biological, and that is something we all have been called into. And I feel like specifically for me, where my mom is not here, or like I have gotten to a place where I feel like there are spiritual mothers who have been there to kind of like play that role of my biological mother. And I have been blessed to say that when it comes to missing, I miss my mom and everything, but I feel like there are people that have been there to kind of like fill that void that would have been there. And the church has been huge in doing that. I have a lot of, mothers, especially in Jubilee, and I would definitely call a name. Mrs. Vicky has been very impactful in my life, and I would say with Anna also, she's one of my prayer partner, and it's like we build each other up spiritually, and that is something I really love about mothering. It doesn't have to be just biological. Being open to accept that and enjoy the freedom that we have in Christ, that we are brothers and sisters or family. That has been a blessing to me.
We can wait a long time for permission to do things that God has asked us to do. And I think like spiritual mothering, I wouldn't have put myself in that category, but I think that like the ways that I have been most loved have been through like mothers or spiritual mothers. There's one lady who is my dear friend back in Iowa, and she's single and has no kids, and she has probably made the greatest impact outside of my mom in her love and like support towards me. And I think it's easy things, just like showing up, asking how kids are. It's like, but I mean, I was thinking about this today. Kids love their mom. Like, kids really love their mom, but moms love their kids. And it's like, we have to give ourselves permission to like love way more than it seems acceptable. Because, I mean, especially if you're in the category of spiritual mothering, that kid's gonna think you're weird. And that's okay. like we're allowed to love to that degree, to that depth that like Jesus loved us.
A spiritual mothering role is, I was actually reading through some Psalms and Deuteronomy and Exodus, and it was like, this generation, what we want to pass on is that our God is faithful. Because sometimes that's what you just need. Like, I was talking to a mom, and she heard like some parenting things that we'd done, and she goes, "You were laughing." Like, yep. You can laugh at some of the most difficult moments because our God is faithful. And even when you have vomit and blood, and our God really is with us. And I think, though, like when you're in those moments, you're like, I'm not sure where he is. I need a voice of somebody that's been maybe a few yards ahead, that can declare and say, I know and have watched God be faithful to me, and he will be faithful to you too. You just need that.
Yeah.
You just need that voice sometime to remind you of someone that's actually walked through some similar things.
There was like a year or two after college where my predominant just feeling was loneliness. And so I would call her and I would cry and she would pray for me. And I just remember thinking, like, these cannot be fun conversations with her. She cannot see my phone come up, or my name come up on that phone and be like, oh great, we're gonna get to talk to Sam. But she would just be so faithful to meet me right where I was at and speak truth to me and call out lies. And I think that's a lot how I view mothering, is like just being there in whatever season they're in, and like just loving them right where they are, speaking truth and calling out lies, and just embracing them.
Being a mother, a lot of us, when it comes to mothering, we have all this guilt about, some of the things we should have done right, or some of the things that we have missed. And the fact is, no one is a perfect mother. It doesn't matter how good you are, there is always something that your kid or people around will be like, you'd have done this differently. But as mothers, we being able to rest in Christ and the finished work of the cross, to say, okay, in my weakness, he has made me perfect, and I'm able to lean into that as a mother, to be able to mother my biological kids and even, my spiritual kids, is just knowing that in my own self, I cannot do it, and I need God to help me. And for us as mothers also to be vulnerable to other mothers and say, hey, we're in this together, nobody got it, and be able to support each other and build each other up in that. So I feel like as mothers, that is something we need to do more, and probably maybe share some of the stuff we're going through to encourage others. That way, as Anne was saying, like we all have struggles about being mothers, but we can be there for each other.
Yeah, that reminded me of something that I didn't. I've believed this lie, heard this lie. I've heard other people say this, but I think it's really easy when you're comparing yourself to other moms. You start thinking, my family would be better off without me, and I just want to say, like, that's not true. And it's an easy lie to believe. But God has placed us where we are with a purpose and for a reason. And he doesn't want you ending each day feeling like a failure. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, because I think there's a lot of people who believe that and hear that.
That's good. In my role as a youth leader, just some of the things that I see youth like needing from mothers or spiritual mothers. I think some of the best moments are like when we get down into their goofiness and like celebrate with them their weirdness. And like one thing that was so impactful to me growing up, I mean, I was a really weird kid, was like... Yeah. I just felt like my mom would just like celebrate that with me and just be weird with me. But then the thing that she did wonderfully and the thing that we need in this generation is like calling out the good things that we see in them before we totally see it. Because I mean, it's hidden beneath a lot of layers, but speaking it into truth, like into them and being like, this is who you are, now practice it.
Well, when I was thinking about what spiritual mothers and how they're needed in the church, I looked up the word mothering, and it went to nurturing, but then nurturing went to providing nourishment. And I thought of all the women that I know in the church that provide nourishment, and nourishment comes in different forms. Like different women have different giftings. Not every woman looks like what the mothering, nurturing, what we would maybe culturally define that as, but they bring nourishment in different ways. And I think that's what I would want, is women to not limit themselves or limit who can speak into their life.
Yes, that's so good.
Because it comes in all different forms, and we need all different kinds of women speaking into our life. Like, I think about the ways I've been nourished when Anna's been leading worship and the prophetic gift she has, or when I hear blessing, pray, I feel nourished by that. And Samantha, like when I hear the parents of the youth saying, Sam is present with my kids at their recitals, at their track meets, like she is present with them, that's nourishing their hearts. So I think that is what I'd really like, just to free women to use the gifts God's given them and acknowledge that God really does have a place for them here.
I was thinking about that, and I just felt like you parent or you mother the way that you were mothered. And for some of us, that's a really good thing, because we had good mothers who pointed us to God. For some of us, that is not our story. And I was just thinking about the importance of receiving the parentage of God, and that being what we mother out of. And thinking about how God, He parents us in a way that is like Zephaniah 15, that is like, I'm delighting over you, and I'm singing over you, and I'm rejoicing over you. And then He is also parenting us in the Psalm 23, my rod and my staff comfort you. And was just thinking about the importance of the relational aspect of parenting, but also the lordship aspect of parenting, and remembering that in order for us to understand our role as mothers, we have to understand God's role in us, and that He is the relational, compassionate one. He is also the one who sets the boundaries that fall in pleasant places for us. And we can have so much comfort that if we were not parented well by our mother, we have a perfect parent in God. And any of us can receive that. I mean, that's something that I need to go to Him daily for. Like, father me, parent me, show me where my heart is wrong, show me what is good, encourage me.